I want to be their mother. I really do. The moment my wife said that, I felt my chest tighten. That's right, my wife has always wanted children. But I was uncertain if we should be the ones to raise them. Though deep down, I already had my answer. Okay, let's go talk about it. Yes. I said this to reassure her. But who knows what will happen? I never truly believed we could make someone else's children our own. My name is Terry, and I'm a 40-year-old man. My wife, Nina, and I are the same age, but we don't have children. We got married 10 years ago, but we never had any kids. At first, Nina thought we would eventually have a baby, but as her period came each month, she started to realize something was wrong. So we went to an OB/GYN, and she was diagnosed with infertility. When she got home, she burst into tears, repeatedly apologizing to me. I'm sorry, it's my body that couldn't give us a baby. Please forgive me. Nina, don't apologize so much. I didn't marry you just to have a baby. I'm happy just being with you. It's sad that we can't have kids. But we can support each other and live our lives together. But I feel so guilty. You were looking forward to having a baby too, right? Well, yeah. But maybe it was just wishful thinking. People without kids envy those with kids, and those with kids envy the freedom of those without. We don't have kids, but we're a happy couple and we can enjoy our free time. Isn't that good enough? In fact, we were so close that our neighbors called us the perfect couple. We go out together on weekends, enjoy outdoor activities, and still go on dates. But for Nina, having children seemed like an unfulfilled dream. As a man, I can't fully understand her feelings, but I know that for women, children are something they deeply yearn for. Men develop a paternal instinct when a child is born, but women must be born with a maternal instinct. Nina is incredibly kind to children and is loved by our neighbors' kids and our niece. But seeing her smile sadly when she's around them is heartbreaking. She must long to hold her own child in her arms. Nina works as a flight attendant. So she's often busy and not home much. She works on domestic flights, but sometimes she has long flights and can't come home. But I can handle housework, so I keep the house clean even when she's not around. I've been doing housework since I was a child. I grew up in a single-parent household, and I helped my mom by doing chores from a young age. My father was irresponsible and spent all his time playing, so my mom eventually divorced him. I think he was addicted to gambling and racked up a lot of debt. My mom had to take over that debt, and it was really tough for her. I wanted to support her, so I cleaned the house and did whatever I could every day. Because of my upbringing, I thought I'd never get married, but I met Nina at a party and we hit it off. Nina didn't mind that I came from a poor single-parent household and even praised my mom as a kind woman. My mom recently passed away, probably due to all the stress she endured. I wish I had been more devoted to her. They say you can't regret things in advance, but it's too late now. No matter how much I wish I had done more for her, there's nothing I can do now that she's gone. One day, I went to the airport to pick up my wife. I had found a nice restaurant in a magazine and thought we could go there after she finished work. One of our hobbies as a childless couple is enjoying good food, and we like going to fancy places meant just for adults. I thought a nice restaurant would be perfect to treat my tired wife. Hey, how was your flight today? Hey. The flight was okay, a bit bumpy, but nothing major. Just some usual turbulence. Got it, glad it wasn't too bad. How about we go to that restaurant we talked about? You know, the one called Starlight. Oh, that sounds great. We talked about going there. They have a great selection of wines, right? Exactly, and I know you love wine, so I thought it would be perfect. Alright, I'm going to drink a lot tonight. I have the day off tomorrow. Just as we were about to leave the airport to head to the restaurant, we saw two young sisters huddled in a corner. They had backpacks beside them and looked like elementary school kids. They were identical twins, judging by their similar faces. Why are these kids sleeping here? Where are their parents? Hey, little ones, what are you doing here? We were left here by our mom. What? Your mom left you here? Yeah, she told us to wait here. So, we're waiting. We don't have the house keys or know how to get home. Despite being young, the girl spoke clearly. I was shocked by what she said. What kind of parent does that to an elementary school kid? As I stood there, stunned, the girl continued. We have no choice but to wait here. We can't go home without the keys, and we don't know the way anyway. Sorry to worry you. Well. It's dangerous to stay here. How about coming to our place? It's cold and you might catch a cold. And you could run into some strange people. Hey, that makes you sound like a creep. Oh, right. Nina's comment made me realize that I must seem like a stranger to them too. Anyone would be scared if approached by a stranger. While I was pondering what to do, Nina searched her phone for a photo and showed it to the girl. The girl's expression softened instantly. Hey, that's Macy. Why do you have a picture of her? Well, Macy is my niece. What's a niece? It means Macy's mom is my sister. So, you're Macy's relative. Yes, that's right. So, we're not strangers. You can call me Auntie, it's appropriate for my age. No way. You're too cool and pretty to be an auntie. What about me, then? You're definitely an uncle. But she's like a cool sister. Ha ha ha. The girl laughed energetically, which relieved me a bit. I didn't mind being called an uncle. Honestly, at my age, having kids this young wouldn't be unusual, and being called an older brother would feel awkward. Meanwhile, the other girl was shy and looking down. She seemed a bit more reserved. The talkative girl then introduced herself and her sister. The outgoing one was the older twin, Hannah, and the shy one was the younger twin, Chloe. Hannah and Chloe looked identical but were opposites in personality. Hannah was active and loved sports. But she wasn't fond of studying. And her backpack only had comic books and a toy ball, with no school supplies. Chloe loved reading and was good at studying. Her backpack was full of books, and she says she has borrowed hundreds of them from the library so far. They were both 12-year-old 6th graders. We couldn't leave them at the airport, so we decided to take them home. They seemed to be friends with my wife's niece, so their home must be near my sister-in-law's. The logo on their school shirts was the same as my niece's, so I showed them the photo. It was a lucky guess. Got it. And they're about the same height as Macy. Exactly. Well, it seems they know Macy, so they understand we're not strangers. Now, what should we do? Unfortunately, we should skip the restaurant tonight. Let's take these kids home and get them cleaned up. They're covered in dust. Yeah, they've been in that corner for a while. It's terrible. I can't believe any parent would abandon such young kids. It's unbelievable. Seeing how dirty the sisters were, we decided to take them home and give them a bath. Even though the airport is clean, being in a corner would naturally make them dusty. Their clothes didn't look like they had been washed recently either. We brought them home and immediately started running a bath. At 12 years old, they were old enough to wash themselves, so Nina didn't need to help. Nina said, "These are a bit big," and gave them her t-shirts to wear. The shirts were oversized, turning into shirt dresses, which looked cute. It was June, hot and humid, so they wouldn't catch a cold inside the house. Afterward, we fed them, and they ate hungrily, clearly very hungry. They didn't have any money, so they must have been waiting for their mother to return at the airport. When I asked about their father, they said he left home to be with a younger woman and never came back. What is wrong with their parents? What kind of parents would abandon such young children without any guilt? I knew there were strange parents out there, but seeing it firsthand was shocking. Now that you've had a bath and dinner, let's talk about what to do next. Should we call the police to have someone come pick you up? You can't stay here forever. I said this to Hannah. Her face turned red and she looked like she was about to cry. Please don't. If you do that, we'll become criminals' children. And Grandma and Grandpa will get in trouble with the police. That would be awful. But you won't be able to go back home. What will you do? Can we stay here? Well. Even the shy Chloe was pleading with me now. Please let us stay here. Our grandparents couldn't come to us for a reason. Grandparents? Do they usually come to your house? Yes. Mom's parents. Our mom is always out with men, so Grandma takes care of us. She has the house keys. But she couldn't come because she's in the hospital. Hospital? What happened? She ate some seafood and got food poisoning. Food poisoning. That must have been tough. If the police get involved, Grandma and Grandpa might be blamed too. Please, don't call them. Okay, I understand. I'll visit the hospital tomorrow. Yes, please do that. So, I decided to visit Hannah and Chloe's grandparents in the hospital the next day. Their grandparents had eaten seafood that was probably undercooked, causing severe diarrhea and high fever, resulting in hospitalization. When I entered the hospital room, I found their grandparents in a shared room. They were both on 4 drips, but their symptoms seemed to be improving, and their fever was going down. The grandfather was still asleep, but the grandmother noticed me and greeted me. I explained that we were taking care of Hannah and Chloe. The grandmother looked very apologetic and lamented her daughter's irresponsibility. Ever since my daughter stopped taking care of them, we've been looking after the grandkids. But when we were hospitalized, we couldn't go to their house and unlock the door. That must have been tough. We're so sorry for the trouble. We wish we could thank you properly, but we're struggling ourselves. Oh, no, you don't have to thank us. It's no problem at all. My husband and I were self-employed, but during hard times, we couldn't pay all our bills. Our Social Security benefits aren't much now. We've been living frugally, so we can't offer much. Tears welled up in her eyes. Oh, please don't cry. Really, there's no need to thank us. I'm really sorry. One of the reasons we're in this situation is because of our daughter's debt. She was obsessed with nightclubs and racked up a lot of debt. We paid it off for her, which left us unable to pay taxes. It's disgraceful. Isn't it? No. It's not your fault. What a daughter. The mother of these sisters got deeply into nightclubs and ended up spending too much on her favorite male entertainer. When she couldn't pay her debts, she turned to her parents for help. So the grandparents paid off her debts, which resulted in long periods of unpaid taxes and meager pension benefits. What kind of adult behaves this way? The grandmother asked if we could take care of the sisters until they were discharged from the hospital. I agreed, as it seemed like the best option. Nina is a busy flight attendant, but I work mainly from home as an engineer. So I can take care of the kids while their grandparents recover. It turned out they went to the same elementary school as my niece, Macy. And since my sister-in-law's house is nearby, the school is within walking distance. With the house key the grandmother gave me, I went to Hannah and Chloe's house to fetch their clothes and bring them back. The house, maintained by the grandparents, was fairly clean, but there were clothes belonging to their mother scattered around. All of them were flashy, some even embarrassingly so. The sink was piled with dirty dishes and empty cup noodle containers. The girls must have been surviving on cup noodles while their grandparents were unable to come. I cleaned them up to prevent any bugs from coming in. After Hannah and Chloe went to bed, Nina quietly said to me, "I want to be their mom." Is that okay? What? You mean? Those girls don't know what parental love is. They haven't been properly loved. I want to be their parent and teach them about it. I know I'm a busy flight attendant, but I want to be there for them as much as possible. Nina. I want to visit the grandmother again and talk to her. All right, let's go together. We needed to seriously consider what to do with these girls. In the past few days, Hannah and Chloe had become more than strangers to us. I started to hope they could stay with us forever. But was it right for us, with no blood relation, to keep them? Wouldn't it be better for their grandparents to take care of them? Yet, I didn't want to let them go. After the grandparents were discharged, Nina and I went to visit them. Nina expressed her desire to adopt Hannah and Chloe. I know this is a lot to ask, but we want to adopt the girls, she said. Thank you for thinking of them, the grandmother replied. We would do our best to raise them. Can you entrust them to us? That would be helpful. Honestly, we don't have the money, and living with my husband is already a struggle. The girls would be happier with you. We're sorry for all the trouble. No, it's no trouble. I want to be their mother. We will raise them well. Thank you. Please take care of them. So, we decided to adopt Hannah and Chloe. Not just any adoption, but a legal adoption. Legal adoption severs the legal ties with the birth parents and establishes the adoptive parents as the legal parents. Their names will be listed as our daughters on the family register, making them almost like our biological children. After contacting the necessary agencies, we found out where their parents were and informed them of our intention to adopt the girls. Through a representative, we were told that neither the mother nor the father had any interest in the children and were fine with the adoption. It was surprisingly straightforward and confirmed their lack of interest in the kids. They really didn't care about their children. If they did, they wouldn't have handled it through a representative. So, the adoption process went smoothly, and we officially became a family. Hannah and Chloe, who used to call us by our name, eventually started calling us Dad and Mom. I was worried if they would ever truly see us as their parents, especially since they were already older, but it made me happy to know they did. 10 years flew by in the blink of an eye. Nina and I turned 50. Nina now works hard as an instructor training young flight attendants. I, on the other hand, had established my own office. I was a freelance engineer, but at 45, I started my own small company. Chloe is now 22 years old. Hannah, after graduating from a commercial high school, started dating a local businessman named Sean. Chloe is about to graduate from college. Hannah didn't go to college because she disliked studying, but I think that's fine. She graduated from high school and is working as a secretary at a small local company. Recently, Hannah's boyfriend, Sean, proposed to her. Look at this ring. Sean gave it to me. Isn't it beautiful? It's full of diamonds. Wow, what a beautiful engagement ring. It's amazing. You're so loved, sis. Right? Well, Chloe, you'll get proposed to by a wonderful person someday too. After all, you're as beautiful as me. What's that? But I'm too shy, so I wonder if I can ever date someone? You will. You're kind, and someone will definitely see that and appreciate you. I hope so. Oh, that's a lovely ring. Show it to me too. Look, isn't it great? Sean gave it to me at a romantic restaurant. How wonderful. We had times like that too, didn't we? Wait, did Dad propose to you romantically too? Did I? I don't really remember. Come on, Dad's just being shy. He loves Mom so much. Your father is a bit shy, isn't he? Nina laughed. As we were having this conversation, a call came in from an unknown number. When I answered, a woman on the other end said, "I'll be visiting you soon." What was that about? It left me feeling uneasy. Who was that call from? I don't know. Who was it? It was a voice I didn't recognize. That's creepy. Yeah, a bit scary. I decided not to worry about the call, thinking it might just be a wrong number. Nevertheless, marriage happens fast. After Hannah's wedding, Chloe will probably be next. The house will feel empty again. But that's part of growing up. Hannah was busy preparing for her wedding. She visited venues, chose dresses, and looked for a new house with her fiancé, Sean. I felt a bit lonely thinking about her leaving the house. Finally, the wedding day arrived, and I felt incredibly nervous. These past 10 years felt both long and short. There were the usual adolescent rebellious phases, but they say it's better for kids to go through them as it helps them grow. Although Nina and I never expected to raise children, we were fortunate to become Hannah and Chloe's parents. Now, we get to celebrate our daughter's wedding. There's no greater joy than this. When I noticed some commotion outside the venue, I decided to check it out. There was a flashy-looking woman who appeared to be around our age. As I stood there, stunned, Hannah approached in her wedding dress. Is that Hannah? You got married. Congratulations. I'm so happy. Why didn't you invite me? I heard about it and came. Let me in. Please leave. What? What are you saying? How can you talk like that to the mother who gave birth to you? It's simple. We didn't invite you. Also, I only have one mom in this world, and that's Nina. My biological mother no longer exists to me. You're being ridiculous. The birth mother is more important. What are you talking about? To me, Nina is more important. You didn't even show up for the adoption process and handled everything through a representative. That means we didn't matter to you. I had no choice back then. The man I was with said kids were a nuisance, so I couldn't come. Please forgive me and let me in. No, you need to leave now. If you cause any more trouble, I'll call the police. Her biological mother started to scream incoherently and caused a scene. She was finally escorted out by security. Apparently, she had heard rumors about Hannah's wedding and decided to show up, but it was too late to play the mother now. For Hannah and Chloe, she had abandoned them. She had been traveling with a male entertainer when she left them at the airport. Telling young children to wait at the airport while she went on a trip was inexcusable, and she wasn't fit to be a parent. Hannah wouldn't have been happy to see her at the wedding anyway. The wedding ceremony continued. When it was Hannah's turn to speak, Nina and I felt nervous. For certain reasons, I was taken in and raised by my current parents. The most important people in my life are my parents who raised me. And my twin sister, Chloe. Dad, thank you for always taking care of us at home. Mom, thank you for taking us places despite your busy schedule. I will be happy with my husband from now on. Please watch over us. Oh, Hannah, you've grown up so well. Mom, Dad, thank you for everything. I'll try to repay you little by little from now on. And to my dear sister Chloe, please continue to support me as always. Sis. She's really grown up. Yes. I never thought this day would come. It was all worth it. Kids are truly the best. Nina was beside me, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief, crying. She always wanted children, and even though they weren't her biological children, seeing them grow up so well made her incredibly happy. I was equally happy to see Hannah become such a fine person. She was always responsible but also a bit mischievous, so I had been slightly worried. Hannah's wedding went smoothly, and she enjoyed the reception with her friends. She returned home exhausted, but I'm glad to see that she has created such a wonderful memory. Hannah moved out to live with her husband, Sean, in an apartment nearby. It was close enough for us to visit if needed. 6 months later, Hannah announced that she was pregnant. We were going to become grandparents. Time really does fly by. After hearing the news, I visited Hannah and Chloe's grandparents' grave. They had passed away, but I wanted to tell them that Hannah had grown up well and was expecting a child. Hannah gave birth to healthy twins, a boy and a girl. They were fraternal twins, so they didn't look alike, but they were both adorable. People say that grandchildren are special, and they truly are. I've been completely smitten with my grandchildren, wanting to buy them everything, and getting scolded by Hannah for it. She told me that spoiling them too much would lead to them becoming irresponsible adults, so I shouldn't buy so many toys. I realized I needed to curb my tendency to spoil them out of love. Meanwhile, Chloe, who just secured a job, is very enthusiastic. Chloe has become a flight attendant for the airline where my wife works. She studied some foreign languages in college and even went abroad, so she's quite proficient in it. She's always said she wanted to be a flight attendant like her mother. Although Hannah and Chloe look very similar, Chloe is slightly slimmer and taller. Being identical twins, they didn't end up looking exactly the same. Appearance is important for a flight attendant, which probably helped Chloe pass the recruitment exam. Chloe admired Nina's uniform and demeanor when we first met at the airport, which inspired her to pursue this career. When she passed the exam, she was overjoyed. I'll work hard to become a strong woman like you, Mom. I need to earn the trust of the passengers. Chloe, just because you're my daughter doesn't mean I'll go easy on you. Wow, the tough instructor. Mom, I heard from my seniors during orientation that you're feared by everyone. They said not to make you angry because you're a demon. Being called a demon instructor is so rude. I'm not that scary. You are. You always turn bright red when you're mad. How rude. Now get ready. Let's go to work. Yes, ma'am. Nina is Chloe's training instructor. Though she seems gentle, she's known as a tough instructor at work. Given the responsibility of ensuring passenger safety, there's no room for complacency. no matter how hard or difficult. No complaints are allowed in the world of flight attendants. Nowadays, we are leading a very happy life. But we've had our tough times. There were moments of conflict when I thought maybe we couldn't make it as a family because we weren't biologically related. But what truly defines a family? Is it just blood relations? Can Hannah and Chloe's biological parents, who abandoned them, be considered true parents? No, they can't. A parent who can abandon their young children isn't even human. I am not like that, and I've loved Hannah and Chloe with all my heart. I want Hannah and Chloe to be even happier from now on. That's our only wish. Hey, this is my ex-husband. Look, he got demoted. Sam and I faced each other in silence. Sam's face turned pale. What an unbelievable coincidence. I let out an exasperated laugh. You got transferred to Denver? My wife Kylie's face turned grim. How could someone who'd always been at the headquarters suddenly get sent to the sticks? Did you screw it up? No, that's not it. Well, you're never going to tell me the truth anyway. I'm not going, so you can go alone. How incompetent do you have to be to get a transfer like that? It's pathetic. Kylie left the room without finishing her meal. That would be the end of our conversation for tonight. My name is Harry. I've been transferred after working 20 years at the New York headquarters. Kylie and I got married 3 years after I started the job. She was a junior in college, and back then we were just club mates. After graduation, Kylie actively approached me. In hindsight, she must have liked where I worked. It's one of the leading publicly traded companies in the US. Because of that, Kylie must have decided I was a suitable marriage partner. She was an only child, and her father ran a business. He was generous and bold, and I feel Kylie was raised not so much spoiled but rather indulged. Back then, we enjoyed our time together, and she was also the most stylish and beautiful woman I knew, probably thanks to her wealth. Many of our friends admired her, and they were jealous of our marriage. Our primary requirement for choosing our house was its proximity to her parents' house. Considering Kylie was an only child, this seemed natural. My married sister also lived in the city, and I still had a younger brother in school living at home. I had no reason to live near my parents, so I agreed to Kylie's request. In retrospect, it was beneficial for our daughter Chloe, who was born later, but it may have had adverse effects on Kylie. Even after marriage, Kylie often put herself first, with her mother filling in the gaps. She'd make plans on a whim, wanting to go out with friends, drink, or relax alone, and would call her mother over. That's probably why Chloe became so close to her grandmother. Kylie's mother, while frustrated with Kylie's whims, had half given up. She often sighed, saying Kylie was just like her father. And she'd always apologize to me. If she took the traits of her father, no amount of upbringing could change her nature. I comforted her mother and was grateful for her help with Chloe. But as a mother, Kylie needed to step up. Even though her mother adored Chloe, arguments about raising her became more frequent. The first major challenge was applying for preschool. Kylie was embarrassed that she hadn't attended a private school. She failed her middle school entrance exams and entered a high school affiliated with a university, but felt out of place among students who had been together since middle school. So she wanted Chloe to take preschool entrance exams, but Chloe was born in summer. At 2 years old, she was too young compared to other children applying for the 3-year-old class. Neither I nor her parents were enthusiastic about Chloe starting it so early. Despite that, Kylie alone enrolled Chloe in preparatory classes and gathered information. But Chloe didn't want to be separated from her mother and couldn't focus on the lessons, falling short of Kylie's expectations. Eventually, Kylie got bored and gave up. As Chloe grew up, she became more capable, regularly becoming class rep in elementary school, excelling in sports and academics, and making many friends. Kylie was the first to bring up middle school entrance exams. Thinking ahead to college, she persuaded her 9-year-old daughter that it would be better to take the middle school entrance exam now, and that friends can only get along with each other if they start in middle school. As a few of Chloe's close friends started discussing entrance exams, she embraced the idea and set her goal for it. But that's where the real problems began. Chloe started to take lessons at a cram school. Yet, just because you attend a cram school doesn't mean your grades would skyrocket. A friend of mine who's a teacher once said that it's harder to improve the grades of top students than to help those scoring 50s or 60s reach 80. Chloe was exactly that prior case. Moreover, the content at the cram school is different from regular schoolwork. In 4th grade, they learn ahead of the elementary curriculum to build a foundation, and by 5th grade, they start on middle school entrance exam material. By the 6th grade, they are fully immersed in practical quizzes for their target schools. Although it's elementary students taking the exams, they're learning at a middle school level. Children who have already been putting in a lot of effort are asked to work even harder. Kids who are doing well might find they're not so exceptional once they start cram school. Many feel discouraged by this. Chloe, being diligent, persevered, but she went through a tough period without much improvement. Kylie never helped her with her studies or offered encouragement. Instead, she would say things like, "If you don't improve your scores, you can't play on Sundays. Everyone else is working harder." During the winter break of 5th grade, Chloe snapped. She threw her fork down at the dinner table and yelled, "You don't know anything, so stop meddling." Seeing this, Kylie didn't shift gears to align with our daughter. Instead, she doubled down, saying, "Do you know how worried I am? If you fail the exams, you'll be the one embarrassed." Seeing this, I stepped in, telling Kylie that I'd take over the tutoring and to stop pressuring our daughter. Kylie then lashed out at me, saying, "What do you know? You've been busy with work and indifferent." She left the table. "Do whatever you want. Let's see what happens." With that parting shot, she disappeared to the bedroom. I calmed Chloe down, got her to eat, and said, "But you did well." Chloe looked at me. Stress needs to be released, or it harms both mind and body. There might have been other ways, but I don't think standing up to your mom was wrong. Telling someone who's already trying hard to try harder is like adding extra weight to someone already carrying a load. Both you and your mom just had different approaches. We can fix that. But I made mom angry. Leave her be for now. She won't listen to anything in this state. It'll only make things worse. Apologize tomorrow. Sometimes, it's best to give people space. If Chloe went to apologize now, Kylie would only get angrier, venting all her unresolved frustrations. It would be best if Kylie could realize she overstepped and apologize first, but she never reflects on herself. Her mother, on the other hand, is excellent at this, which means Kylie takes it after her father. Her mother lived without ever hearing, "I was wrong" from her husband, always being ordered around and bearing his frustrations. Yet she tried to appease him. It's pitiable to witness. After dinner, Chloe and I reviewed her missed questions. We need to figure out what's causing the slow growth and fix it. To solve the problem, we first had to identify the cause. I converted Chloe's cram school grades into data, creating graphs and tables for visual clarity. We identified her weaknesses and the causes of her mistakes. She frequently made careless errors. Simple calculation mistakes, misinterpretations of questions, and spelling errors. She was overconfident in her language arts skills, often neglecting to carefully review her answers. I stressed that achieving perfection in her strong subjects required meticulous attention. In math, her anxiety prevented her from focusing. While solving problems, she'd worry about the next one, whether she'd run out of time, and what she'd do if she couldn't solve it. I reassured her that practice would help her get used to it. She should solve the easy problems first and leave the difficult ones for later. I had her copy geometry problems into her notebook to familiarize herself with the shapes. Seeing her performance trends and results in Excel helped Chloe objectively assess herself and calmly tackle problems. Soon, this began to reflect in her results, and she started to regain confidence. Kylie, however, wasn't the kind of mother to fully celebrate Chloe's efforts. While we were pleased with Chloe's results, Kylie would warn her not to slack off or remind her that getting sick would negate her efforts. Her advice, though well-intentioned, was pessimistic and often demoralizing. Even I found it tough to handle. So I could only imagine how it affected our elementary school daughter. Can't you encourage Chloe a bit more? Why do you speak so cynically when all you have to do is say "well done"? You're so proud of yourself, aren't you? You think you've raised her grades with your teaching and are bragging about it, making me look bad. Why should I encourage her? Don't you care about your own daughter? Why is it always about you? Our arguments became more frequent, and eventually, I started sleeping in the study. It was since I found the bedroom door locked after helping Chloe with her studies. I used the master key to get in. But from that night on, we never slept together again. Dad, will you come with me on the exam day? Hearing Chloe's hesitant request, I took a day off to accompany her. I wanted to eliminate as many worries as possible. With a short window for admissions, some schools announce results on the day of the exam, requiring the enrollment fee to be paid by the next day. Having already secured a spot at her second-choice school, we needed to quickly decide where to pay the enrollment fee after the first-choice school's results were out. I planned ahead and requested time off at work. Fortunately, my boss, having gone through a similar experience with his son, understood and approved my leave. Despite Chloe's big win of getting into her first-choice school, Kylie remained cold and indifferent since that day. Even at the celebratory dinner hosted by her parents, she bristled at her father's comment about Chloe getting into a better school than her mother did, and made excuses on circumstances being different in her times. Her mother tried to smooth things over by suggesting we eat before the soup got cold, but Kylie snapped, "You don't understand. These two teamed up to make a fool of me, criticizing my ways and telling me not to interfere. They've ignored me and my efforts." "We didn't ignore you. We just analyzed Chloe's trends and identified her weaknesses. That's ignoring me. Acting like your way is the only right way, while you were indifferent when I was helping her. I trusted you and didn't want to interfere. Don't be silly. You, who went to public school, can't understand the challenges of these exams." "Enough!" Chloe's scream echoed like it had on that fateful day. "Mom, you're the one who said I should take the middle school exams. And I passed, didn't I? So why are you still complaining? If you wanted me to succeed, shouldn't you be happy, no matter whose method worked? Why do you act like it's a competition with Dad and you lost for it? I thought we'd all be happy when I passed, but instead, you're sulking and muttering to yourself. You shut up. Acting high and mighty just because you passed a middle school exam. Stop it, both of you. Fighting here is disgraceful. As a mother, you should be focusing on keeping the peace." Finally, Kylie fell silent at her mother's words. "Let's just eat. We don't want the steak to go to waste. It's been a while since we had a meal like this, not since my birthday." My father-in-law's words helped to calm things down. Kylie's mother started talking about the school entrance ceremony and commute times, trying to engage Chloe in a cheerful conversation. Chloe understood her grandmother's efforts to create a pleasant atmosphere, and shared stories about her friends and teachers to lighten the mood. Chloe, always willing to take on a leadership role, had a keen ability to read people and situations. Despite her young age, she often had to navigate her frustrations with an immature mother. Considering she'd been dealing with these struggles while preparing for her exams, no amount of support seemed enough. Once Chloe started middle school, she quickly adapted and thrived. Even Kylie settled down, telling Chloe to study at her own pace. However, our relationship didn't recover. Kylie played the role of a good mother in front of Chloe, making her lunch and seeing her off with a smile, engaging in conversations. But when it was just the two of us, the atmosphere was tense. When I asked how long she planned to keep the bedroom locked, she said, "It's fine as it is. We have different sleeping schedules anyway. We don't need any more children, and now that Chloe's exams are over, let's just live freely. I don't want to get any closer." She said this with a triumphant smile, and 2 years later, I got transferred with my job. I was sent to Denver as the head of employee training to revitalize the branch. When I informed Kylie again, she didn't believe me. Even if she did, she wouldn't have said, "I'll go with you." She probably felt relieved. A year after I moved to Denver, I received signed divorce papers. Now that Chloe has started high school, there's no need for us to stay together. A note with these words was attached. She must have taken one of Chloe's sticky notes. Even though it's an affiliated school, moving from middle to high school involves interviews. There was an unspoken rule that parents' divorce would be a disadvantage. Kylie had waited until Chloe entered high school to finalize her escalator-style progression from middle to high school, which Kylie had always wanted. This might have been Kylie's last duty as a mother. I had long suspected that Kylie had no interest in how I was living or what my life in Denver was like. Even if I returned to New York, it seemed impossible to mend our marriage. I no longer felt any desire to reconcile or make an effort to do so. I buried my sinking feelings by immersing myself in my work. The employees in Denver were all earnest and kind, and apart from the cold weather, there was nothing particularly tough. Chloe sometimes came to visit during her vacations. Every time I saw her, she seemed to have grown taller or changed her hairstyle, making me realize how much she was growing up. Chloe had decided to live with her grandparents when I was transferred, commuting from their house instead of ours. It was indeed easier to commute from their place without needing to change trains. But that wasn't the only reason. She declared during her visit to Denver that she no longer wanted to live with her mother. I've always felt that Mom and I didn't get along since I was a child. I tried to make an effort because I wanted to get along and see her smile. But it seems that if we don't get along, we just don't. Maybe it's not right to feel this way about your own parent. Chloe was cautious and not one to act lightly. Saying this out loud meant she had tried hard as a daughter and was crushed by the fruitless results. Her middle school exams were probably driven by a desire to be praised by her mother. I felt more apologetic than anything. Her grandparents were delighted, and even Kylie agreed. It made commuting and meal preparation easier. She must have been relieved. And living with Chloe might have been my father-in-law's last joy. One winter morning, he collapsed suddenly and never recovered. He had a stroke. He loved smoking and drinking till the end and was bold and daring. My mother-in-law gave a small smile, saying that she could forgive him for everything he had done for her, by the fact that he passed away without being hospitalized for a long time, and without her having to take care of him. I was grateful he passed without seeing our divorce. He constantly reminded me to take care of his willful daughter. That's why I couldn't shake off the guilt. Agreeing to the divorce as easily as accepting a direct mail was because he was no longer there, and perhaps it was easier for Kylie to ask too. As both a daughter and son-in-law, I felt I had wronged him. Chloe's affiliated high school was in a completely different location from the middle school. She had to change trains twice from her grandparents' house, making the commute inconvenient. Chloe wanted to live in the dormitory. She wanted to participate in morning self-study and evening sessions, which were better suited for boarding students. Commuting for an hour wasted time and energy. That was true. Without her grandfather, her grandmother no longer had to prepare 3 meals a day. Her grandfather was particular about food, so she must have felt much more relaxed. With Chloe around, the burdens never seemed to end, so Kylie supported the dorm life. Since it was what Chloe wanted, I agreed too. Not having to worry about accidents or bad weather was a relief. I was fully occupied with my work, and Kylie enjoyed a carefree single life. In the end, Chloe might have been the most mature and the biggest sacrifice in the family. But Chloe always worried about me and eagerly awaited my visits. For a man who had been cut off by his wife, my daughter was now my greatest reason for living and my greatest strength. That day, I had a meeting at a hotel lounge. They said they'd be about 30 minutes late, so I decided to go in and wait. Thinking this, I got off the elevator and headed to the club lounge. The club lounge is a special lounge reserved for guests staying on the club floor. Since today is an anniversary, I booked a nice room to celebrate. I was thinking it would be a good night when suddenly, "Oh, what's this?" A lady looked at me curiously. It was Kylie. She had just come out of the restroom. "It's been 3 years. What are you doing here? Isn't this place a bit too upscale for someone demoted to Denver? Are you here for business?" That was her first comment after not seeing me for so long. I didn't even feel like responding. "Hey, let me introduce you. Come on. This is my husband. You don't get opportunities like this." Kylie led me to a table at the back of the lounge. "This is Sam. Hey, this is my ex-husband. He got demoted to Denver. Sam is a deputy manager at Johnson Trading. It's one of the top 3 companies. So he's in a different league from you." I didn't even hear Kylie's triumphant voice. Sam and I faced each other in silence. I could see Sam's face turning pale. Kylie sat next to Sam, and I sat across from him. Trapped between the glowing skyline through the glass and Kylie, Sam had no escape. Long time no see. What's this? Is it intentional? No way. I just found out now. I let out an exasperated laugh through my nose. Really, what a coincidence. You're still up to the same old tricks. What are you talking about? Do you know each other? Oh, we know each other very well. When was it again? I'm sorry. Please. Sam looked up at me, frightened. What are you talking about? Kylie, not understanding, was getting irritated but kept her voice down given the quiet setting. What's wrong? Are you shaking? Kylie grabbed Sam's arm. Hold on to him. I'm going to tell everything now. Please, anything but that. Then can you say it yourself? Not only have you failed to confess, but you've also been adding to your misdeeds. And do you even know who Kylie is? You're utterly worthless. Don't say such rude things. I'm really sorry. If you're sorry, then tell everything from your own mouth. I'll listen to everything you've done. What's going on? Kylie, holding Sam's arm, leaned in to look at him. Sam closed his eyes and began to speak, having resigned himself. It was after Chloe had entered high school and moved into the dormitory. Kylie's father had passed away, and her mother was left alone. While Kylie thought that her mother would feel relieved without anyone to care for, the reality was that she was overwhelmed by a sense of emptiness. It was so sudden. If he had been hospitalized for at least 3 days, I could have prepared myself. But no, Dad was selfish to the end. Not wanting to suffer, and left just like that. Even though her husband had not been particularly considerate of his wife, seeing her mourning his loss made me realize they had a deep bond. Our marriage was beyond repair. Learning about our situation from Kylie left her mother feeling that her world was falling apart. Yet she maintained a brave front and continued with her daily life. One day, while she was tending to the garden alone, digging and replanting the flower beds, a salesman came by. Despite being in a suit, he carried heavy bags of fertilizer and soil, prompting my mother-in-law to make him coffee and listen to his story. Having lived with a stubborn old-fashioned husband for so long, my mother-in-law was charmed by the polite and soft-spoken man. That man was Sam. Sam skillfully wove tales of financial management for retirement. At first glance, it seemed like her husband had left behind a substantial inheritance, but upon closer inspection after his death, it became clear this was not the case. Unknown bank accounts surfaced, suggesting secret savings, but were followed by debts. And the life insurance had been cancelled without her knowledge, leaving my mother-in-law disillusioned. Her anxieties about her retirement made her susceptible to Sam's promises. However, being cautious, my mother-in-law did not jump in immediately. She requested detailed explanations over several days, and even treated him to lunch out of goodwill. The truth was, Sam was a professional scammer. He not only helped with the garden but also changed the fish tank water, assisted with sorting her husband's belongings, and even paid respects at the household altar. I first met Sam when I returned to New York for a colleague's daughter's wedding. After the wedding, I stopped by the in-laws' house. I had informed them beforehand, but my mother-in-law, thinking the wedding was on Sunday, was surprised to see me on a Saturday afternoon. Naturally, Sam was caught off guard as well. However, with the practiced ease of a seasoned salesman, he began explaining his financial schemes to me. I didn't believe a word of it from the start. But seeing how much my mother-in-law trusted him, I hesitated to expose him then and there. Unlike her usual anxious and timid demeanor under her husband's scrutiny, she was now lively and happy, offering fine coffee and sweets, proudly talking about how wonderful Sam was, both professionally and personally, and how he helped around the house. I couldn't help but reflect on my shortcomings as a son-in-law. I told her to wait, as I would join any investment she made, and left that day. Afterward, I conducted an investigation and discovered that Sam's story was entirely fabricated and his company didn't exist. Armed with this evidence, I went back to the in-laws' house, finding Sam having lunch with my mother-in-law who was serving her specialty: deep-fried food. She had said she would no longer make fried foods alone, as her body couldn't handle greasy food at her age. But she had already signed the contract with Sam. He had persuaded her by saying that the investment offer would expire at the end of the month, and that interest rates would drop significantly afterward, making it her best option. When I revealed that everything he said was a lie, it was not Sam, but my mother-in-law who clung to me, pleading, "Don't blame Sam. He's not at fault." "I knew everything," she cried. Sam and I were left speechless, and only my mother-in-law's sobs filled the room. She had given Sam $20,000 as an initial investment, saying she didn't care if the money never came back. She appreciated having someone visit, care for her, help with household chores, enjoy her cooking, promise to return, and listen to her stories and complaints. "It made me happy," she said. Sam hung his head. I couldn't look at my mother-in-law. If my home life with Kylie had been peaceful, she wouldn't have been so lonely. I felt ashamed. With Kylie living as she pleased, neglecting both our household and her parents, I couldn't consult her about future worries. Especially now that we no longer functioned as a married couple, I couldn't rely on her. If she had said something, I might have been able to help, even if Kylie found it annoying. But the distance was too great. With Chloe no longer around, I had no reason to visit frequently. I couldn't help but feel that we, as her family, bore responsibility for my mother-in-law becoming a victim. Sam deeply apologized to us, but my mother-in-law shook her head, saying, "You must have your own struggles too. Now that everything's out in the open, you won't come here anymore, will you? Even if I promise to keep your secret. You can't continue this work and face me again." "That's what I regret more than the money," she said, tears streaming down her face. It was heartbreaking to see. My mother-in-law made two requests to me. One was never to tell Kylie. The other was not to punish Sam. Thanks to my mother-in-law's sad yet generous heart, Sam managed to escape that situation. I looked at Sam, curled up in the lounge chair. "You promised to change your ways, quit scamming, and come back when you had a legitimate job. Is this what you consider a legitimate job? Johnson Trading? A company that wouldn't hire someone who scammed elderly people. What kind of scheme did you use this time to become an elite employee? And since you're Kylie's husband now, it means you're still hiding the truth. Quite the talent you have, fooling two generations. Did you tell Kylie some sob story, like you did with my mother-in-law?" Sam had told my mother-in-law that he was raised in an orphanage and had no family. He claimed that working in sales was tough, but that Johnson Trading was the only company that didn't require a degree. He had garnered her sympathy by saying that, unlike others who could rely on family connections to expand their client base, he had no such support. What part of his story was true? There was nothing I could believe. Kylie's hand, which had been holding onto Sam, was now trembling in her lap. Sam was supposed to be 5 years younger than Kylie if what he had said was true. What had she believed in to remarry such a man? After being scammed, my mother-in-law developed dementia, possibly from the stress, and is now in a care facility. The scam should have remained a secret from Kylie, but our unexpected encounter exposed everything. For my mother-in-law, not understanding the situation might actually be a blessing. My phone vibrated. It was Chloe. She was on a graduation trip to South Korea with her classmates. They were visiting places related to some pop singer's debut anniversary. I placed my phone on the table and let Kylie hear. Even without the speakerphone, Chloe's excited voice was clear. "Dad, we just got back to the hotel. I ate so much, my stomach's bursting. It was spicy but delicious. We visited all the landmark spots and took tons of photos. I'll make a slideshow and show you when I get back. The kimchi here is amazing. Totally different from what we get in the US. I'll bring some back for you. And don't worry, I got makeup for Sarah too. Don't worry about souvenirs, just have fun. Okay. I'll be back the day after tomorrow. You and Sarah should go on a honeymoon. She's so stylish, you should do something special for her. If you act too old-fashioned, she'll hate it. Ever since I saw Mom cheating when I was coming back from cram school, I've been hoping you'd find someone better and be happy. I know you stayed with her because of my schooling. I'm not a kid anymore. So enjoy your life more. I love Sarah, she's too good for you. Chloe laughed heartily. Poor Chloe had witnessed her mother's infidelity before even starting middle school, keeping the weight of that knowledge to herself. I decided to marry Sarah, my assistant in Denver who had supported me through everything. Originally, my transfer to Denver was supposed to be for 3 years. However, due to the improvements made at the branch, I was recalled to the headquarters after just 2 years. Sarah decided to quit her job and come with me. If I left you now, I'd regret it for the rest of my life, she said and proposed to me. She had seen through my hesitation, caused by my divorce. She was valued for her career, and she now works at a related company. Sarah, intelligent and kind, got along well with Chloe, teaching her to bake and sharing a love for pop singers. Okay, I'll call again tomorrow. We're going to chat and eat some snacks now. Don't overdo it. I won't, see you later. When I looked at Kylie, her eyes no longer tracked anything. She was likely overwhelmed by the flood of truth and reality. Harry, am I interrupting? Sarah had arrived. She was the main guest of honor today. It was her first birthday since we got married. No, it's fine. We're done talking. Oh, let me introduce you. This is my wife. Nice to meet you, I'm Sarah. Let's go. Aren't we drinking here? I ordered room service. I'd rather it be just the two of us. The room has a great view, you'll love it. I left with Sarah. I wondered where Kylie's life would have diverged if she could start over. Perhaps it was marrying me. Despite everything, I am grateful to Kylie for giving birth to Chloe. We couldn't find a straight path to happiness, and my heart aches for my mother-in-law. But I can't remain trapped in the past forever. I now have a new family, and I have the responsibility to watch over Chloe's future as her father. It was a night when I reaffirmed my resolve to live an honest life that my family can be proud of. Not much going on here. Hey, you, dance over there. Just in your underwear. This is the kind of thing temps should do to liven things up. At the New Year's party, John, the son of President Smith, was getting handsy with a female employee, who clearly looked uncomfortable. Seeing her distress, I tried to divert his attention by talking to him, but he got irritated and barked that order at me for interrupting him. Other drunk employees started chanting for me to dance, making it impossible to refuse. Reluctantly, I took off my shirt and pants, leaving me in just my underwear, and started to dance. With a whatever happens, happens attitude, I decided to go all out with a silly dance, but a few days later, I got fired. Desperate, I decided to apply for a job at a major rival company. To my surprise, the young and beautiful president at the interview shook my hand and said, "Finally, you're here. I've been looking for you." What? David, want to grab lunch? Oh, sure. Invited by my colleague, Mike, we headed to a nearby diner. Since it was lunchtime, the place was quite crowded. We managed to get a table as soon as one opened up. We ordered set meals and chatted while waiting. At the next table, two women who looked like office workers were excitedly talking about their favorite pop group. What's so great about those lip-syncing dancers? I don't get it at all. Mike muttered, looking annoyed. Mike and I are both 32 years old. To men our age, teenage idol groups seem like nothing more than a high school play extension. I agreed with him, saying, "Yeah, really," and turned my attention to the menu on the wall. Though I hadn't told anyone, I was once part of a pop group in my teens. Ignoring the chattering women, I glanced at the menu, reminiscing about those days. While attending high school, I was part of a talent agency and performed as a pop artist. It was the era when groups like Silver Beat and Starfire were at the peak of their popularity. Our group was still small and not very well known, but we had released CDs and had some dedicated fans, mainly performing at live houses. We were determined to become as big as Silver Beat one day. With that goal, we worked hard in weekly lessons as a team. However, I wasn't particularly handsome, just average looking. Instead, I focused on honing my dancing skills, hoping to stand out in that area. I continued performing in the music industry for a year after graduating high school, but due to differences in direction among the members, our band disbanded. We all went our separate ways. Since I wasn't very popular, I tried pursuing a solo career but didn't gain much traction. Eventually, I ended up as a backup dancer for other artists, and as more and more young performers debuted, I began to question if I should continue in this field. By my late 20s, I retired from the entertainment industry. I then enrolled in a technical school for IT, aiming for a job. After registering with a temp agency, I worked at various IT companies. The company I was temping for now is an app development firm. They were known to offer permanent positions to temps. Motivated by this, I worked hard to secure a permanent position. However, 3 months after I started, John Smith, the president's son, joined the company as an experienced hire. Since then, the atmosphere in the department turned sour. John, leveraging his position as the president's son, did whatever he pleased. He was domineering with male employees and openly lecherous with female employees. He was particularly harsh on temps like me, often calling us for trivial tasks without any real need. Even when I had a pressing task due by noon, he'd interrupt with his errands, causing real trouble. Just the other day, he took over a young female employee's task and dumped it on me, saying, "That's a lot of data, must be tough. It'll take you half a day. I'll do it for you." Hey! David, you handle this data. As a temp, it's your job to support us full-timers. When a full-timer says that, temps have no choice but to comply. I had to stop my current work and start on the data as John ordered, finishing it by noon. Then, I hurriedly resumed my interrupted task and managed to complete it by the morning deadline. This kind of treatment is commonplace in this office. It's somewhat understandable for temps to receive one-sided orders. But his selfish behavior towards other employees gradually made him an outcast in the office. Despite this, Emily, a new female employee, became his favorite target. He persistently hit on her every day. At 22, she was the youngest and prettiest woman in the office. Because of this, he kept finding excuses to involve her in his work. However, Emily seemed to have a quiet personality. She couldn't refuse his daily advances and ended up working with him as he dictated. Feeling sorry for her, there was nothing I, as a temp, could do. I just pretended not to see, and each day passed by without me being able to help. On the first workday after the new year, after finishing the New Year's greetings and returning to my department, John was excitedly planning a New Year's party for the following week. However, none of my colleagues seemed enthusiastic about it. No one joined in on his excitement. I returned to my desk and began organizing my documents when John called out to me from behind. "David, we're having a New Year's party next week. You better come." It was supposed to be for full-time employees only. But Jake insisted on letting the temps join, so you're in. I didn't want to attend such a party, but it would be foolish to refuse and jeopardize my chances of becoming a full-time employee. I decided to quietly drink and told him I would attend. It seemed other temps couldn't refuse either and resigned themselves to participate. The party was held at a pub the following weekend. I wanted to sit at the edge of the table, but the manager, Jake, told me to mingle with the full-time employees. So I ended up sitting across from John, much to my dismay. Of all places, right in front of John, worst luck. Feeling disappointed, I saw him calling Emily over and telling her to sit next to him. She reluctantly moved from her chatty group of female employees to sit beside him. When she sat next to him, John happily started bragging. He went on about the car he drove, the brand of his suit, and how much his watch cost, talking only about himself. Emily nodded along, but it was obvious from her expression that she was just being polite. However, he didn't seem to notice this. Misinterpreting her politeness as interest, he began hitting on her. Initially, she managed to deflect his advances, but his behavior escalated to the point of touching her. Clearly uncomfortable, she glanced at me, silently asking for help. Honestly, I didn't want to talk to John. But I couldn't ignore her distressed look, so I kept talking to him, trying to divert his attention from Emily. As a result, John, unable to talk to her, grew increasingly irritated and finally decided to get rid of me. Not much going on here. David, you, dance over there. Just in your underwear. This is the kind of thing temps should do to liven things up. He suddenly shouted, and with everyone already tipsy, they enthusiastically supported his idea. Other drunk employees started chanting for me to dance, making it impossible to refuse. Reluctantly, I took off my shirt and pants, leaving me in just my underwear, and started to dance. To everyone's delight, I decided to go all out with a silly dance. The employees clapped and commented, "Surprisingly, he's a good dancer," while happily recording videos with their phones. As I danced amid the lively atmosphere, I saw an unbelievable sight. John was clinging to Emily, trying to kiss her in the middle of the party. Furious from being made to dance in such a humiliating manner, I impulsively danced over to them. I intentionally stepped between them, grabbed a beer bottle from the table, and poured it over John's head while still dancing. As I playfully doused him with beer, he flew into a rage and lunged at me. I continued to mock him with a smile, which only made him angrier. He turned red and swung at me. Other employees tried to intervene, but he couldn't be calmed and kept raging. The noise of our commotion seemed to echo throughout the place. The restaurant staff rushed over, asking us to keep it down. Although they managed to pacify John, the party atmosphere was ruined, and the New Year's party ended there. Even after we left the bar, his anger hadn't subsided, and he kept trying to come at me. Other employees held him back and urged me to leave first. So I did. On my way home, as the alcohol wore off, many thoughts ran through my head. I knew my chance at getting a full-time position at this company was over. Feeling dejected, I opened the door and went home. The next day, the atmosphere in the office was terrible. Jake called me into a separate room and asked me about the incident where I poured beer on John. Not wanting to involve Emily, I took the blame, saying it was a personal grudge. He calmly informed me that he would report the incident to the temp agency. However, knowing about John's problematic behavior towards temps, he said he wouldn't make a big deal out of it. Thanks to this, I only received a warning from the temp agency and avoided any severe consequences. John must have gotten a scolding from Jake. After that, he stopped persistently hitting on Emily. Instead, he began glaring at me whenever we crossed paths, but I ignored his looks and focused on my work. However, a few days after the New Year's party, I was suddenly informed by the temp agency that my contract was being terminated. When I asked why, they said it was because of sexual harassment complaints. Since I had no recollection of such behavior, I went to the company to find out what happened and was shown a video of me dancing in my underwear at the party. The complaint stated that I had danced provocatively despite the discomfort of the female employees. Furthermore, Jake said that while he didn't want to make a big issue out of the New Year's party, he couldn't overlook such behavior. And the company decided to end my contract. Despite repeatedly explaining that I was forced into the dance by the employees, the temp agency wouldn't listen. They told me I had to make my final farewells at the company the next day and leave. I've worked so hard aiming to become a full-time employee, but now it's really over. Feeling like an empty shell, I said okay and left the temp agency. The next day, I went to the company to make my final goodbyes. After saying goodbye to everyone, I stood in front of John. I didn't want to talk to him, but I felt I needed to give a proper farewell. "Thank you for everything," I said. He smirked and replied, "It's good to get rid of someone who'd strip in front of women." I wanted to end things peacefully, but I couldn't help glaring at him and retorting, "You were the one who told me to strip and dance." I couldn't hold back and yelled at him. Jake and the other employees watched from a distance. "Even if I told you, you could have refused. If you didn't, it's your fault for the harassment. There's no way I could refuse." I muttered a small protest, but Jake intervened, saying, "That's enough." He then urged the employees to get back to work. Having no choice, I quietly left the office. As I waited for the elevator, Emily came running after me. "David, I'm sorry for causing you so much trouble." She bowed deeply in front of the elevator. "Emily, don't worry about it. This company and I weren't meant to be. I'll find something else, so don't worry." As I spoke, she seemed to want to say more but hesitated. When the elevator arrived and I stepped in, she handed me a note. "This company is hiring. Maybe you could apply." Just as she finished speaking, the elevator doors closed. I opened the note, and I saw it was for a well-known rival company. There's no way I could get into such a big company, I thought as I left the building. When I went to the temp agency to find my next placement, the sexual harassment allegations seemed to have followed me. They told me they couldn't find a new assignment for me. I realized I'd probably never work for that agency again. So, I terminated my contract with the temp agency and began looking for another job. The next day, I registered with another temp agency, but I couldn't find a placement as quickly as I had hoped. Nevertheless, I had to make a living. I scraped by with short-term part-time jobs while continuing my search. A few months later, I noticed a job listing for the company Emily had mentioned before, and I decided to apply, even though my hopes weren't high. This company was an app development firm founded by a young woman while she was still a student. It had grown rapidly to become a leading company in the industry. I applied through their mobile site and received an email with an interview schedule. I was surprised to even get an interview, but I figured I'd be rejected quickly. With this negative mindset, I headed to the interview. When I arrived at the company's headquarters, I was stunned by the size of the building. It was much larger than the building of my previous workplace. I found out the company was on the 14th floor. Up that high, huh? I pressed the button, and one of the 6 elevators immediately stopped. I nervously stepped into the elevator and pressed the button for the 14th floor. The high-speed elevator quickly arrived at the 14th floor. I entered the office and headed to the room prepared for the interview, where President Anderson was already seated. I straightened my posture out of nervousness. I had seen her photo on the company's website and thought she was quite beautiful and impressive for her age, but in person, she was even more stunning. She was the only one in the room, indicating she would be conducting the interview herself. I greeted her nervously. Suddenly, she looked intently at my face and then came closer, grasping my hand. "Finally, you're here. I've been looking for you." She looked up at me with a hopeful gaze, making me even more nervous in a different way. As I stood there, stunned, she released my hand and began speaking with a gentle smile. "I've heard about you from people at your previous company. They said you're very capable, David. Did you hear that from Emily?" I asked. She gave a vague response. It made me think Emily had recommended me. I silently thanked her. The interview proceeded smoothly, and I was officially hired as a full-time employee. I was so happy that I bought a can of beer to celebrate at home, even though I usually didn't drink. From the next day, I threw myself into my new job with enthusiasm. The company had a supportive environment, and all the employees were great to work with. I felt a strong responsibility to meet the expectations of Emily, who recommended me, and President Anderson, who hired me. I worked hard every day with that motivation. As a result, I gained recognition from my colleagues and gradually earned their trust. President Anderson was very friendly, often casually chatting with me in the office. I was so happy with my new job that I got a bit carried away. One day, I was in the break area and, without realizing President Anderson was nearby, started humming one of my old songs. From behind a pillar, she peeked out and said, "You seem to be having fun." Flustered, I apologized, "I'm sorry," but she just smiled warmly at me. "I like your singing, David." Feeling embarrassed, I scratched my head, blushing. About 2 months after I started at the new company, I got used to the job and became comfortable talking with my colleagues. I felt truly happy. I had never enjoyed work this much at any of my previous temp assignments. With meaningful work, friendly staff, and a wonderful boss, I was genuinely glad I had made the move. See you tomorrow. Take care. Today was fulfilling. Feeling satisfied as I headed home, I casually checked my social media and saw something trending that caught my eye. Idiot employee dancing naked. I tapped on the video with my thumb, and there I was, dancing in my underwear. It was the scene from the New Year's party at my old company. Why is that video? The description read, "Got rid of a vulgar employee." Those words were written in the description. And the account name on that video was familiar. Of course, it was John. I had seen this account when he showed me a video of his luxury car. The video was posted 2 months ago and had already garnered many comments. How could anyone strip in front of women? Is this the 80s? Only a creep would do this. This would definitely be unacceptable nowadays. Among the many comments criticizing me, some were trying to identify me. Isn't this the former pop artist, Alex? Yeah, it's Alex. How far he's fallen. Gross. He looks fat, doesn't he? the video had over 20,000 likes. Checking other social media platforms, I saw that the video had been widely shared. And some even knew where I worked now. Seeing that video made my previously contented mood plummet into despair. I stood there at the traffic light, staring at my phone until someone bumped into me from behind. Thinking back to my days on stage, basking in the adoration of fans. I never imagined I'd end up as a mere office worker. Reflecting on my hopeful teenage years, I felt pathetic. With heavy steps, I returned home and noticed an email in a folder I hadn't checked in a while, related to my old company. It was full of emails from John. "So you were a pop artist? How humiliating to show such a disgraceful scene. This is your punishment for embarrassing me. I'll make sure the world sees how pathetic you've become." So John is the one who spread that video. That night, I couldn't eat dinner or sleep. A few days later, the video started appearing in videos by current events YouTubers, and searching my former stage name, Alex, brought up countless clips. I saw Alex at the station the other day. He must live around there. Let's track him down. Some people were even trying to find out where I lived. There were also phone inquiries to my company. Naturally, this affected how my colleagues viewed me. Am I going to have to leave this company too? By then, I had lost the enthusiasm I once had. In the morning, my alarm went off at the usual time. I tried to get up, but my body felt heavy. I had experienced a lot of gloomy days at my previous company, but I never thought I'd face the same situation again. Now, my past and my disgraceful dance were known to the public. The weight of this burden was far greater than anything I had felt before. Feeling down, I went to work, where the atmosphere seemed cold towards me. Even those who usually chatted with me were distant. The administrative assistant who always greeted me with a smile in the morning avoided eye contact. Despite being treated like a pariah, I still had to do my job. The day that used to fly by now seemed to drag on endlessly. At 3 p.m., with a sigh, I thought, 2 more hours to go. When President Anderson approached me. "David, I have some free time today. How about we go out for a drink?" she said, mimicking the act of drinking with her hand. I honestly wanted to go home right after work. But given that the busy president had taken the time to invite me, and feeling lonely with no one else talking to me, I accepted her invitation. After work, we went to a dining bar near the station. We ordered a Mediterranean course and wine, and after chatting for a while, she brought up the topic of that social media post. So that was why she invited me. Was she going to fire me because the company's name was involved? As I was having these negative thoughts, she unexpectedly started to comfort me. Everyone has pasts they'd rather forget, but the past is the past. The important thing is to keep moving forward, she said gently, her face slightly flushed from the wine. Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. I'm sorry if this has caused the company any trouble. If you want, I can leave, I said, lowering my gaze. Then she said something astonishing. I'm not thinking of letting you go. Besides, didn't you do that dance to help someone? That girl? Emily, she's actually my sister. I stood there with my mouth half open in shock. She started to tell me about her relationship with her sister. When Emily was in elementary school, their parents divorced. President Anderson, then a high school student, stayed with their father, while Emily left with their mother. Emily had wanted her sister to help support their mother, but she couldn't bear to leave their father alone. This created a rift, and Emily stopped responding to her sister's attempts to contact her. Even after starting her own company, President Anderson found out that Emily had deliberately joined a rival firm, my old company. As she traced the rim of her wine glass with her finger, she spoke with a hint of sadness. Emily was so grateful for your help. But she felt responsible for your resignation and called me out of the blue. And then she mentioned that you might be Alex, the pop artist I used to like. She said that after receiving a call from her sister for the first time in ages, who told her to see for yourself before hanging up. Her old feelings came rushing back. I've been your fan for a long time, she said shyly, her face now a deeper shade of red. Ever since middle school, she had been a fan of mine. She watched my performances whenever she felt down, whether from school troubles, her parents' divorce, or challenges in starting her company. Even after I retired, she continued to find strength in my past videos. When I saw you at the interview, I recognized you immediately. I never expected you were working at the same place as my sister, she said, looking at me with her hands clasped on the table. You've helped me in so many ways, David. First with your singing and dancing, then by helping my sister, and now by working hard for my company. You mean a lot to me, she said, her eyes glistening with tears. I wanted to thank you earlier, but I didn't know how since you kept your past hidden. I was ready to quit, but this unexpected turn left me unsure of what to say. It was only natural to help your sister. She was clearly distressed, I said. With the alcohol giving me courage and knowing my true identity was revealed, I decided to be completely honest. I really appreciate you hiring me as a full-time employee. And knowing you've thought about me for so long. But look at me now. I've gained weight and aged. Seeing me like that must have been disappointing. As I said this, President Anderson, with teary eyes, chuckled and replied, Your dance and singing were just like before, and smiled warmly. We locked eyes for a moment before bursting into laughter together. The next day, when I arrived at the office, President Anderson was already there. We exchanged morning greetings with the staff, and our eyes met. We had left the bar around 11 p.m. the night before. Since we were both a bit tipsy, we shared a taxi home. In the taxi, she held my hand and leaned her head on my shoulder. Now, seeing her at the office, I wasn't sure how to view her, whether as a boss or as a woman. Sensing my conflicted feelings, she teased me slightly. David, let's have a great day today, she said. Ah, yes. I'll do my best, I replied hastily. She chuckled softly and walked into the meeting room. I returned to the office and sat at my desk, but my heart was still racing. Could it be, am I falling for her? That day, I threw myself into work, trying to clear my mind, but even after I got home, I couldn't stop thinking about her. In fact, I became even more aware of her. The atmosphere in the office was still tense, with everyone avoiding me, but the way she looked at me was clearly the look of someone in love. Being looked at like that every day made it impossible for me not to notice her, no matter how much I tried to ignore it. I struggled every day to keep my feelings for her hidden. One day, my colleague, Jason, invited me to lunch. In an environment where everyone else was avoiding me, he was the only one who still treated me the same. We ordered our usual set meals at the diner and started eating when he suddenly brought up the video. That video of you is going viral. Everyone in the office seems to know about it. Must be tough. Yeah, there's nothing I can do to stop it, I replied reluctantly. He then mentioned a different video that had been uploaded. My resentment towards John grew as I wondered why he was so determined to ruin me, but Jason insisted I watch the new video. Look. It's not a video criticizing you. Check it out, he urged. I said, it's fine, really, but he insisted I watch it. Reluctantly, I pulled out my phone and checked the social media post he mentioned. The new video showed the scene from the party where John was harassing Emily. It captured him touching her and forcing himself close to her, as well as the conversation where he ordered me to dance naked, and my efforts to protect her. You really stood up for that girl, didn't you? Good job, Jason said, treating me to lunch as a token of appreciation. Within a week, my colleagues started apologizing to me one by one, saying they had misunderstood me. While I was relieved that they now knew the truth, I couldn't help but wonder who had recorded the video. I remembered people filming with their phones, but I didn't think anyone had captured the entire scene. A few days later, President Anderson invited me out for drinks again. Without hesitation, I accepted her invitation, and we went to a nearby buffet. We picked out some appetizers and sat down, chatting about work, when the conversation turned to Emily. Yesterday, I got a call from Emily for the first time in ages. She mentioned the New Year's party video, she said. Apparently, several young employees had been filming the party at John's request. John had edited the footage to only show my embarrassing dance and posted it online. Due to my past as a pop artist, the video went viral. It became a topic of conversation at my old company, and John boasted about getting me fired, flaunting his influence. However, my former colleagues, who had suffered under his arrogance, decided to upload the full video showing the true context. John's social media account, which initially had many likes, was now flooded with criticism, labeling him a harasser. His identity as the president's son was revealed, causing a huge scandal. The company faced backlash from clients, and the president, frustrated by John's poor work attitude and his struggles with client inquiries, became furious. Consequently, John was forcibly dismissed and kicked out of the house. On the other hand, I was praised for protecting a female colleague, even at the cost of humiliating myself. Old videos from my artist days resurfaced, and my name, Alex, gained newfound recognition. Journalists and tabloid reporters swarmed the company, making it impossible to work. And I even received offers from talent agencies to return to showbiz. Though tempted, I ultimately decided to decline. President Anderson, I'm so sorry for all the trouble this has caused. I apologized in her office. She invited me out for drinks again that night. With no reason to refuse, we went to a lounge after work, where Emily was already seated. "Long time no see, David," she greeted me. "Hi, Emily. It's been a while." As we exchanged greetings, President Anderson spoke up. "Please help me convince her to join our company. No matter how much I ask, she won't agree." I didn't say I wouldn't join, but I need to thank David first. "Thank you for protecting me," Emily said, giving me a heartfelt thanks. "I'm so sorry you were forced out of the company because of me. Please don't apologize. If you hadn't spoken to your sister, I would have been lost. I'm the one who should be thanking you." "Thank you, Emily." I nodded my head just like Emily did. She had already left her previous company, and her sister was trying to recruit her. After a pleasant meal together, we exchanged contact information, and I escorted the tipsy President Anderson home. At the station, we parted ways with Emily, and I got into a taxi with her. Seizing the moment, I mustered the courage to hold her hand, feeling emboldened by the alcohol. "Anna, I like you," I whispered in her ear. She placed her other hand over mine and replied softly, "I like you too." She leaned her head on my shoulder. And from that night on, we officially started dating. With a new goal and someone I loved, I found myself more motivated than ever at work. My name is Tom, a 35-year-old man. I'm very happy now, but I have a very dramatic past. That's why I want everyone to hear about that time. I have a brilliant younger brother named Nick. Unlike me, he was very smart and always got perfect scores in elementary school without studying at all. Our parents were very hopeful that he could get into one of the prestigious private middle schools in the state. On the other hand, I didn't study well and scored below average no matter how hard I studied. Even though I was trying, my grades didn't improve much, and I always scored around 50 in math. "Oh, Nick is so smart, so why is your brother so dumb? If he scores like this in elementary math, he'll be hopeless by the time he gets to middle school. It's just pathetic. But I'm trying my best. I scored 70 in social studies. How can you say you did well with scores like this? Stop being stupid. If you were trying, you'd definitely get a perfect score. Maybe you should take a lesson from Nick. That's not fair. Ha, you're getting scolded. You're really dumb, bro. Even I can solve these problems. Are you really in 6th grade? Maybe you should start over from 1st grade? My mother was always angry when she saw my test results. I didn't want to show her my test papers, but if I didn't, she'd get furious, so I had no choice. And I was really annoyed with my brother for mocking me. He was spoiled by our parents and acted all high and mighty. He didn't respect me at all and only thought about making fun of me. To me, he wasn't cute at all, and I wished he would disappear. However, it seemed like I was the one who wasn't needed in this house. Both my mom and dad said things like it would be better if I wasn't around, and it hurt me deeply as a child. Then, I went to middle school. The studies were hard, but I made some good friends, so I was fairly content. I particularly started hanging out a lot with a classmate named Jake. His family was a single-parent household, and they lived quite modestly. But it was clear that his mom loved him, and I was a bit envious. Jake's mom, even when tired, would always offer me snacks when I visited. They weren't expensive, but I was really grateful. She was always smiling and treated everyone equally. I thought she was very different from my parents. My parents ran a business, with my dad as the president and my mom handling the office work. So I was the son of a president, but I never felt loved. I remembered growing up fairly well off, but I thought they spent more money on my brother. For instance, there was a small difference when it came to snacks for field trips. When the school allowed us to buy snacks up to $3, I got a dollar bill from my mom. But my brother got $10. I thought I was not allowed to buy so many snacks, but my brother didn't seem to care. He handed out snacks to everyone in class, enjoying being the king. Growing up with such favoritism, I realized early on that money isn't everything when it comes to happiness. Then, during the summer vacation of my 3rd year in middle school, my mom told me something shocking. I wanted to improve my weak subjects, math and science, so I planned to attend a summer course at a tutoring center my friend went to. Mom, I need a favor. There's a summer course at the tutoring center by the station. They said you don't have to be a regular student to attend the course. If you take 5 subjects, you get a discount. What? A summer course? Yeah, I'm bad at math and science. I was going to take just those 2 subjects, but my friend told me it's cheaper to take all 5 subjects. We don't have money for that. Spending money on you is a waste when we could spend it on Nick. Please, let me go. I'll study hard. You're going to drop out of school and work, so you don't need to study. Congratulations, now you're free from your weak subjects. Wait. What do you mean? It means you're going to drop out of school and work for our company. Don't you get it? Spending time and money on high school for you is a waste. Instead, you should work hard. No, I want to go to high school too. Hey bro, don't be so selfish. You're making mom upset. You're not that smart anyway, so middle school is good enough for you. You're just a failure. So you should work for us. Nick, you. Oh, are you gonna do something to me? Scary. Are you gonna try something on your little brother? Enough. I got so upset, I slammed the living room door and went back to my room. I was devastated by what mom said and humiliated by my brother. I couldn't even decide my own future, and I couldn't stop the tears from flowing. Dad was strict and would yell at me for any small mistakes. Looking back, I think our family was dysfunctional and my parents were toxic. But as a kid, all I could do was cry. With growing hatred towards my brother and mistrust towards my parents, winter came on my 3rd year of middle school. Everyone was studying hard for high school entrance exams. But I knew it was too late for me, so I just stared blankly at the clouds. Hey, I heard you're gonna drop out and work? Yeah, my parents want me to join their company. Well, your dad is the president. Yeah, but they told me I wasn't worth sending to high school, that it would be a waste of money. That's tough. I thought about working right away to help my mom. She pushed herself too hard and got sick. What? Is your mom okay? The doctor told her not to strain herself. Her heart isn't good. That's terrible. Tom, don't look so sad. Let's show them what we can do. Some people look down on us for dropping out, so let's prove them wrong. Let's work hard and believe that we'll be rewarded someday. You're right. Sorry, I shouldn't act like I'm the only one with problems. Everyone has their own struggles. I know it's tough for you too. But don't give up, no matter what. Yeah, I'll keep fighting. You too, Jake. Even though Jake was in a tough situation, he encouraged me, and I felt grateful. I had always felt like I was the only one suffering, and it made me a bit ashamed. Determined not to be outdone by Jake, I decided to work harder and stay positive. Maybe someday, good things would come my way too. My parents still treated me coldly and spoiled my brother, but I decided to ignore it. When I stopped reacting to my brother's annoying comments, he eventually stopped bothering me. He probably thought it was no fun if I didn't respond. In April, I started working at my parents' company as a new middle school graduate. My dad was harsh, treating me like a rag and giving me all the tough tasks. He dumped all the work that other employees used to do on me. When I asked him questions, he'd just yell at me. You still don't get it? How many times do I have to teach you, you idiot? But no excuses. This is why you're useless. Just finish the job and get back to work. Yes. How could someone like you be my son? Nick is smart and good-looking, a masterpiece. You're just a defective product, like this. Dad held up a defective product and showed it to me. Then he threw it in the trash. It felt like he was throwing me away. Years passed. I turned 30. Nick graduated from a prestigious private middle and high school and went to a good university. But he didn't look for a job and just stayed home. To me, he was just an unemployed college graduate. I'm studying to make money with stocks, so I don't need to work. But hey, there's no guarantee it'll work, right? Nah, with my brains, it'll be a piece of cake. Just stay quiet, bro. Oh, I see. My brother stayed like that, lazing around at home even after graduating from college. But my parents didn't scold him, they just said, he'll make it big someday, sounding carefree. I doubted that would ever happen, but saying anything to them was useless. So, I decided not to warn my parents. One morning, I was working at the company with my parents. At 30, I felt my age was catching up as I tackled the tough tasks. All of a sudden, I heard a crash and turned to see where the sound came from. I saw my dad had collapsed. Dad! Dad! Dear! Help! No! Call an ambulance! We called an ambulance immediately, but my dad passed away shortly after arriving at the hospital. It was a heart attack. Dad had been overweight and had been told he had poor heart health, but he continued his unhealthy habits. That's probably why he had a massive heart attack and died. Mom cried loudly, and my brother, who rushed over, turned pale. But I strangely didn't feel sad. I felt relieved that one thing that tied me down was gone. Maybe I'm an ungrateful person, but only someone raised by toxic parents would understand. Even during the funeral, I didn't feel sad at all. Because of that, my mom berated me, calling me the worst son. After 1 week, Mom called me and my brother. Sit down, I need to talk to you. Okay. All right. With your father gone, we need to think about the company. Nick, you'll take over the company. Your useless brother is fired as of today. What? Got it? Nick will lead the company from now on. But I want to keep studying stocks. I'm begging you, only you can be the president. I can't refuse if you ask like that, Mom. But can I study stocks when I have free time? Of course. Wait a minute. I've dedicated myself to this company. And now you're firing me and making Nick the new president? That's unfair. What? Did you think you could be the president? You only have a middle school education, there's no way you can be the president. Don't make me laugh. A middle school education, but you and Dad were the ones who made me give up high school. It's unfair to mock me for that. How dare you talk to me like that? I gave birth to you, how can you say such things to me? But... enough, you're leaving this house. We don't need you. I was in shock from everything she said. I had worked tirelessly for the company, like a worker ant, and this was how I was treated. And I couldn't stand her saying she gave birth to me. Even at my age, I didn't want to think like a child, but I thought it was wrong for parents to say I gave birth to you or I raised you. Having children is a form of self-satisfaction, so I didn't like the condescending "I did this for you" attitude. If I ever have kids, I wouldn't want to say things like that to them. After being told so much by my mom, I decided I would leave the house. I went back to my room, packed my things, and decided to take only the essentials. I had nowhere specific to go, but I figured I could stay at a business hotel while looking for an apartment. Leaving the house, I checked into a nearby business hotel. The space without my mom and brother felt peaceful. There was no one to bother me or say mean things. As I lounged in my room, I thought about my classmate, Jake. I wonder how he's doing. I hadn't been in touch for a long time, so I gave him a call. Hey, Jake. How's it going over there? Well, the factory I was working at just shut down. What? Actually, my dad passed away, and I got kicked out of the company afterward. Wait, your dad died? Yeah, but strangely, I didn't feel sad. Does that make me a bad son? Well, you said your parents always disliked you and treated you unfairly, maybe it's understandable. So, what did you do after getting kicked out? My mom said she was giving the company to my brother and fired me. Then she kicked me out of the house too. But I guess it's time I left anyway. I see. Hey, why don't we start something together? Ha! Let's build something from scratch, our own company. But can we really do that? Yeah, let's do it. So, I called Jake to a cafe. We talked about many things there. Jake said that if our company made a big profit, it would really help him out. His mom still wasn't in good health, so he needed to work to support her. Fortunately, I had a decent amount of money saved, so we made plans. First, we secured a place to live. We consulted a lawyer Jake knew and got everything in order. We worked quickly, and soon our company was established. My company was right across the street from my family's company. With a big, flashy sign, my mom and brother were shocked to see me entering and exiting the building. Are you the one renting this place? Yeah, that's right. But isn't the rent here really high? We have raised enough funds, so we can afford it. How did you get the money? From YouTube. I posted stories about toxic parents, and they got a lot of views. Wait, are you talking about me? Maybe. This huge sign, and this place was featured in an interview before, the industry is. Yeah, it's a comics publishing company. I knew it. I'm not good at writing or drawing, but I'm confident in coming up with ideas. I always loved comics as a kid and wanted to be a comics artist, but my drawing skills were terrible. Then I thought about becoming a novelist, but I didn't have a knack for writing either. No matter how hard I tried, my writing was at an elementary school level. But I was good at coming up with ideas, so I was always the one coming up ideas for drama class. I wanted to pursue a creative career and go to an art school, but I had to drop out of middle school and gave up. But I realized that academic background doesn't matter. My favorite YouTuber, who does illustrations, also dropped out of middle school, so I knew it was possible even without a diploma. But I didn't want to become a YouTuber myself, so I posted scandalous content just to raise funds, and it got some traction. There were troll comments and condescending remarks, but I thought, they must have a lot of free time, thanks for watching, and kept posting. With the funds I earned, I started a comics publishing company. Even though my company was a comics publisher, it was different from boys or girls comics. We specialized in what are called ladies comics, which are popular among housewives. Usually, women would come up with the stories, or the writers would create them from scratch, but most of our works were based on my ideas. When it got out that a man was coming up with these dramatic, female-oriented storylines, it attracted media attention. Although I didn't show my face, the company quickly became famous. Our debut hit, Abandoned by Toxic Parents, Jessica's Revenge, was a huge success. The story began with the protagonist, Jessica, working after dropping out of middle school and being exploited by her parents. And it resonated deeply with readers. You're the president of this company? So, you were behind those weird comics? Yeah, they're my passionate creations. You jerk. You made me the evil sister character. I never said the character was based on you. It's not defamation or slander. Don't play dumb. Anyone who sees it can tell it's me. I didn't make it that obvious, so no one knows it's you. Besides, shouldn't you be the one worrying about being sued for defamation and slander? What do you mean? Thanks for leaving those hateful comments on my YouTube channel with your real name. I've already filed a disclosure request. Wait, please. I'm glad I have a lawyer friend, thanks to Jake. Friends are invaluable. No way, what will happen to me? I don't know. You'll probably be held accountable. That's all I know. My brother didn't know it was my channel and would smugly leave comments. Using offensive language and saying things like, "The uploader is an idiot." I was going to ignore it, but I decided to teach him a lesson and filed a disclosure request. People who think they can do whatever they want in an anonymous world are in the wrong. My brother turned pale and started trembling. I thought he might even wet himself, and I couldn't help but smile. Well, I have a meeting with a comics artist, so I'll get going. Wait. See you, I have to go make even more money. I'm so busy. I ignored my mother and went into the office. Jake and I had a meeting with a comics artist. She was a new artist but was great at drawing dramatic scenes, so I suggested the idea for her next project. Tom, you're really good at coming up with ideas. I struggle with that, so I look up to you. But I can't draw or write well, so I rely on the comics artists. Even the YouTube content was outsourced to writers. That channel really got a lot of attention. People love dramatic stories, huh? Yeah, it shows how stressed people are these days. Those who love dramatic stories might be dealing with stress in their personal lives. It's our job to help them release that stress. Modern life is definitely stressful. Jake, you've been a big help. You're great at catching details and spotting typos quickly. Well, I did work at a printing factory. I'm a big picture person, so I'm not good with details. That's why I'm not great at spotting typos, but Jake makes up for that. Since Jake used to work at a printing factory, he's really good at finding typos and mistakes. So far, we haven't had any misprints. If we did, it would have been a disservice to our readers. Our publishing house is still small, so to build trust, we need to accumulate a track record steadily. That's why we put a lot of care into our work, making sure there are no mistakes in our comics. Since then, my brother had to face the consequences. He was fined for both defamation and slander. The amount wasn't significant, but my brother couldn't pay and begged for forgiveness on his knees. That idiot lost a lot of money in failed stock investments. I had no intention of forgiving him, so I told him if begging worked, we wouldn't need the police or lawyers. Eventually, our family company went bankrupt. It was because my brother used the company's funds for his stock investments. If he hadn't done such stupid things, this wouldn't have happened, but I had no obligation to help him anymore. I decided to live as if I had no family. But at 33, I had a significant encounter. I was looking for new comics artists, and a 28-year-old woman came to us. She had sent her work to various publishers but hadn't received any responses. She had felt uneasy about creating dramatic ladies' comics, but after reading our works, she wanted to give it a try. Our works weren't just about revenge. The key point was that the protagonist ended up happy. It was essentially a Cinderella story, and these types of comics were becoming popular. I didn't watch much drama, but I heard that Korean dramas often followed this pattern. Korean cosmetics, idols, and dramas were trending among women in their 20s. So, I started studying Korean dramas. They turned out to be quite useful, and I came up with the idea for The Ugly Duckling Who Became a Princess After Plastic Surgery. Sure, since Korean cosmetic surgery and makeup are famous, having the protagonist transform in Korea works well. Yeah, I thought it would be interesting if everyone treated her differently when she returned to the States. I want a scene where everyone turns to look at her. I see, she becomes so beautiful that people do a double take. At the beginning, she should be portrayed as terribly ugly, to the point of being pitiable. But her personality is kind and good-hearted. Understood. The bullies should be average-looking. Not ugly, but not particularly pretty either. Oh, and the protagonist should also have liposuction. Oh, I know people who went to Korea for liposuction too. Then she could become fabulously fit. She could become a legendary hostess and earn a lot of money. Then, her mean former classmates could come in as customers. That sounds great. But she doesn't reveal her identity as they hit on her without realizing who she is. How about that? That's a great idea, Jake. It's really interesting. Thanks. Do you think we could add some mature scenes? This is aimed at women in their 30s. Sure, something for working women who are tired from their jobs? Exactly, women who feel frustrated and, by reading the conclusion, feel inspired to keep going. Not just revenge, but the protagonist achieving happiness on her own. Got it. I'll give it a try. The artist, Emily, was excited and created The Ugly Duckling Who Became a Princess After Plastic Surgery. The kind but extremely unattractive protagonist, Sarah, is a bullied girl. Not only is she ugly, but she's also chubby, so she's constantly mocked by her classmates in high school. She is despised by the boys, and when she confesses her love to a boy by writing a letter, he threw it away. Devastated, Sarah works hard and travels to Korea alone. There, she undergoes full-body plastic surgery. She gets liposuction, changes her nose, eyes, and jaw, and transforms into a stunning beauty. Upon her return to the States, she is so beautiful that people do a double take at the airport. Sarah leverages her beauty to become the top hostess in no time. She has interactions with her former classmates and eventually meets her true love. The comics became a bestseller, and our small publishing company grew significantly. Eventually, the comics was adapted into a TV drama, with a famous actress playing Sarah. They used special effects to depict her ugly phase and her beautiful hostess phase. I treated Emily to a meal to thank her for her hard work. Emily enjoyed spending time with me, and I was glad that I asked her out. We began to go on more dates and got to know each other better. The more I got to know Emily, the more I wanted to confess my feelings to her. However, I was a high school dropout. Emily had graduated from an art university, and I thought she wouldn't be interested in someone like me. But I decided to take the plunge and confess. Jake encouraged me, saying if I liked her, I should go for it, which gave me the courage. Emily, there's something I want to tell you. What is it? I want you to seriously consider our future together. Are you saying that you are thinking about marriage? Yes, I'm a middle school dropout without much education. But I want to be with you from now on. I can't lie to myself anymore. Emily, I would love to marry you in the future. So please date me seriously. Thank you. I've been wanting the same thing. What? I'd been happy to be more than just work partners with you. Emily gladly accepted my proposal. I felt relieved that I had expressed my feelings. Emily didn't mind that I was a middle school dropout and said that everyone has their own path in life. I was thrilled and grateful that Emily was my girlfriend. Then we had our wedding. I was 34 at the time. My parents and brother didn't come to the wedding. But Jake, my business partner and good friend, celebrated with us, and so did our employees. Most importantly, I was happy to be accepted by Emily's parents. Even after marrying me, Emily continued to work hard as a comics artist. Though she struggled with coming up with ideas, her artwork was excellent. She drew captivating images, and I thought she had immense talent. Many works were created with my story ideas and Emily's drawings. Jake also managed other artists and nurtured many of them. Our company grew steadily and became well known in the ladies' comics market. Just before my 35th birthday, Emily seemed unwell. I thought it might have been something she ate, but then she said, "Actually, I've been told I'm expecting." What? We're having a baby. You're going to be a father. Me, a father? Yes, you're going to be a dad. I'm so happy. That's amazing. Our child. Overwhelmed with emotion, I lifted Emily up. I put my ear to her stomach. I couldn't hear anything yet, but I imagined the baby growing and moving inside her. I was excited to meet our child and looked forward to it every day. Then, when I was 35, Emily went into labor. Emily gave her all and delivered a healthy baby boy. I couldn't believe such a beautiful little being existed, and I held him with tears streaming down my face. From now on, my life wasn't just my own anymore. I had to live my best for my wife, Emily, and our son. No matter what hardships came our way, I knew I could endure them for their sake. This was my determination as a man and my pride as a father. Even though I grew up with toxic parents, I worried whether I could truly show love to my child, but I think I'm doing okay. Taking care of a child is definitely challenging, but watching him grow each day fills me with love. I never understood why my parents treated my brother and me so differently. Sure, my brother was smarter and more charming, and they probably found him more likable. But even if we have another child, I know I could never abandon one over the other, even if one seemed less capable. I'll use my parents as an example of what not to do and strive to be the best parent I can be. Since we both work, Emily and I plan to support each other in raising our child. Jake also found a girlfriend, and they're planning to get married soon. I hope for a world where those who endure hardships are eventually rewarded.